Hey, what's going on, YouTube? Thank you for coming back to another episode of Scattered Brilliancy. My name is Travis, and I'm here to do a review for Married at First Sight, Honeymoon Island, Season 1, Episode 6. Last night, I don't really know what happened. I realized at about 9:30 that I was not watching Married at First Sight, Honeymoon Island, so I turned on, and Happily Ever After was on, and I was confused, and then I saw that the new episode wasn't coming on until 11, and y'all know good and well I was not staying up to 11 to have to do a review at midnight. So I just finished watching the episode, so we're gonna try to knock this out real quick. Not much of anything special happened. So this episode was about spirituality, not just religion, but more so fears. So they all talked about their fears. So I feel like this might be more of a play-by-play, and I don't even like doing those kind of reviews. But where can I start? Oh my gosh. So all the couples are meeting in the morning, I guess, of the next day. And, Jonah gets to tell everybody that he's made his way to the bed now with Brandon. Nothing is still going on, but he's just happy not to be on the couch anymore. And that's when the doctors come in and they let everybody know that Isabella and Tyler are no longer there. And then that gives everybody their free pass to start talking about how much they don't like Isabella. And, they kind of go back and forth about it, and they just talk about how all her issues with Tyler were just symptoms of a larger issue, which I can totally get. I mean, that's how relationships go. Things happen to people, and the smallest thing can set somebody off, and people come off as if they're mad about the fact that you left the bread out, but that's not even really what it's about. So this whole episode was supposed to be about their core beliefs and spirituality and facing fears in a sense, but I don't really feel like that it happened for every couple. So we're just going to go through it. So for Katie and Eric, they're the couple that doesn't really get much attention on the show. I feel like this episode was the first episode that they were shown a decent amount, but when they were talking about fears, they both have opposite fears. One of them feared success, and I think that was Eric who feared success, and Katie feared failure. So they kind of thought, well, maybe that could work in their advantage, that they both have different fears. But the majority of this episode was just about Eric's concern for his career and how that's going to affect his relationship with Katie. Eric stated that in all of his previous relationships, the women all seemed, I guess, okay or excited at the fact that he traveled a lot and did a lot of work, I guess you could say, overseas. But when it came time to the actual practice of that, it didn't go as well as they all anticipated it would. So he had his concerns about whether Katie would be like everybody else, or if she would be more accepting of his work lifestyle. So he gets a chance to talk to Pastor Cal about it, and Pastor Cal pretty much brings out him that they really haven't even had a conversation about that. So he's having these fears, and Pastor Cal asks him, "Are you the one that's overreacting?" But because he's having these fears about something that he hasn't even talked to Katie about. So he encourages him, in a nutshell, to go talk to Katie. And does he see? Oh, Pastor Cal asks, what's his name? Eric, does he see Katie as a life partner? And he says yes. So they end up having a picnic, and they talk about it, and it's all good. Katie's okay with the whole traveling thing. Her stipulations are, at least to her knowledge, she's okay if he's traveling 1 week a month, and that they get to spend weekends together and talk on the phone while he's away. So all is well with that. For Shannon and Kimber, and not much really happened. They went horseback riding, and it kind of confuses me about the horseback riding, because it seemed as if they were talking about people's fears, and then they were supposed to do something related to that fear. So I don't know, maybe one of them were afraid of horses. So they go horseback riding, and that gives Shannon an opportunity to open up about the things that's happened to him. He talks about his father passing. He talks about his mom having cancer, and Kimber is appreciative of his ability to be open with her, because for the most part, Shannon uses laughter and jokes as his defense mechanism when things get uncomfortable. So she was appreciative of the fact that he could open up about those things, because for her fear was losing her parents. Both of her parents are still alive, and that's just something that she's constantly always thinking about, is what am I going to do when that happens? Am I going to be able to make it through? All of that. So he gave her some encouraging words about just how to deal with that stuff, and, just not to worry about it until it actually happens, and that, if they were together, he could be there for her. And I'm recording this, I just got home, so Tegan's here, obviously, so, You'll hear her in the background. Let's go to Chris and Jada next. Pastor Cal's concern about Chris is that he believes Chris is a smooth talker, and that might prevent Chris and Jada from having a deeper connection. So Chris's fear is of heights. So what they do is they go on the air tram at the St. Lucian, St. John's Bay that they still said 50,000 times in the episode. So they're on this tram that travels up to the top of some mountain, and he's like freaking out during the ascension of the tram. But he was saying he didn't think he could do it, but I'm like, bro, where you going? I mean, you're already up there. There's nowhere for you to go but down, and I don't think that's really where you want to go. Did anybody else notice that Chris had his name on his hat? I guess promoting his music and everything. And I shout out to Chris. I saw that he subscribed to my channel, so what's up, bro? But he had his name on his hat. It said Chris GQ Perry. I didn't write it down. I think it said Chris GQ Perry, and I was like, well, I mean, you know, hey, if you're gonna be on television, might as well milk it for all it's worth. So I still haven't heard him sing or rap or whatever it is he does. I need to go find like some of his music to see if he's any good. But he faces his fear of heights. Jada's there to console him and to hold him and to let him know that everything's gonna be okay. And we'll talk about him a little bit later in the episode. I felt like this episode kind of focused more on Brandon and Jonah. They go ziplining, and I don't think that was either one of their fears. I might be wrong, though, because I watched this episode in parts. I didn't watch it all straight through. Yeah, one of them she said that she'll have to put her full trust in Jonah to go ziplining. And I might have heard that wrong, but I was really kind of confused about why you have to put your trust in him to go ziplining when it's literally just attach your carabiner or carabiner, whatever name is, on his line and push him out there and just, woo, you're zipping, just go. I didn't understand what trust she had to do when he wasn't the one running the zip line thing. But yeah. So after they finish ziplining, he tries to have a conversation about the fear. Oreo, shut up. About the fear. Oreo. About the fear-related stuff. I can't remember exactly what. So after they finish ziplining, he tries to have a conversation with her about something. I don't really remember what it was. But whatever was related to, she wasn't trying to have that conversation. So she kind of just walked off. So later in the episode, they meet with Pastor Cal and they talk about their different communication styles. She talks about how great of a communicator he is. And she pretty much also talks about how he's pretty much the man of her dreams. So she doesn't understand why she's tripping or whatever. Pastor Cal asks them, have they talked about religion and politics? And they say no. So then they have that conversation with Pastor Cal. And they talk about God, religion, church, their backgrounds related to church, and it all helps Jonah to understand her hesitation in talking about religion earlier in the episode because of everything she has gone through when she was younger, because she was raised in the Catholic Church, but she doesn't necessarily agree with everything related to it. At the end of the episode, they had a new beginning ceremony, and what they were supposed to do was write down what's been holding you back or what you are fearing, read it to the group and toss it in the fire. They made it real dramatic, like Chris was going to say something really revealing, but he doesn't. So Eric, he wrote down selfishness. Katie wrote down insecurities. These are things that they said they're going to let go to help better the relationship. Shannon wrote down his defensiveness and like letting people in, his fear of letting people in. Kimber wrote down her always wanting to compare new people in her life to the previous people she's been with. Jonah writes down feeling unworthy and feeling undeserving. Brandon writes down patience. And Jada writes down the fear of being humiliated, and that's based on the things that she went through in her past relationships. And Chris writes down trust as the thing. So I understand why it was so dramatic, like he was about to say something crazy, but he wrote down trust because he says his social media presence attracts the wrong kind of women who have the wrong intentions of wanting to be with him. At the very end of the episode, Pastor Cal says he has one more surprise for them, and it ends with a to be continued, but we already know that the surprise isn't anything special. So that's all that happened in the episode. It wasn't anything special. Spoiler alert, if you don't know, in every preview they show Jonah proposing to Brandon. So, I mean, you know, Next week, he's supposed to talk to her mom, I guess, to ask for her hand in marriage. And I think this all just stupid and too soon. But, you know, hey, what do I know? But y'all let me know what y'all thought about season 1, episode 6, Married at First Sight, Honeymoon Island. Remember to rate, comment, subscribe to the channel if you have not already, and share if you feel like it. And I'll be talking to y'all later. Peace.